You worried about how your eviction case will affect your credit? My name is Michael Van Zalingen. I'm an Illinois attorney, and I help Chicago tenants take control of their eviction so they can protect themselves and their families. There's a couple of different ways that eviction affects your credit. The first is that the Circuit Court of Cook County has a website, and just as soon as a case is filed against you, the case goes on the website so that any future landlord or anyone else can type in your name and see that a case has been filed, how much money the landlord says you owe, and they can follow the status of the case from beginning to end. So for a lot of tenants, if they're looking for a new apartment while they're in eviction, their new landlord will look that up, see that there's a case pending, and say, I'm not going to rent to you because you've got this case. Now, if your case is dismissed or settled, the website will say it's dismissed or settled, but you don't know if your prospective landlord is smart enough to know that, would be willing to say, I can't hold this against you because it was dismissed or settled. But the fact that a case was filed will be on the website, and it will be there for as long as the website exists. The second way that eviction affects your credit is that the three main credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, all gather information and will report on your credit report that a case was filed against you. And on your credit report, you'll see in the section called Public Records, the eviction will come up. Now, they are notoriously bad about that information. So even if your case was dismissed, it may say something like judgment against you or judgment for the amount of money that the landlord was seeking, even if the case was settled or dismissed. So after an eviction, you need to check all three credit reports in order to make sure that it's not being reported improperly by TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. Finally, if you want to buy a house in the future, you have to get the eviction judgment vacated. What that means is, at the end of an eviction case, if you lose, there's typically a money judgment for the amount of rent that you owe. And you will have to go back to the landlord and get what's called a satisfaction and release of judgment signed by the landlord and then entered by the court. Because if you want to buy a house down the road, your mortgage lender is going to require that that judgment be satisfied and released. Otherwise, they're afraid that you will have to pay that judgment down the road, and that will affect your ability to make your monthly mortgage payment to them. Finally, there's sealing the court record. In certain instances, for example, if you are a tenant whose landlord went through foreclosure and the bank or foreclosing entity has now taken possession of the house, they may want you out. And those eviction lawsuits are typically sealed. And sometimes, if your landlord is willing, you can seal your eviction. And sealing means that the case disappears from the court records. The website, the hard copy, all of that, the case becomes invisible to the public. So these are all of the ways eviction will affect your credit in Cook County.